This is the after action report for the hardest event that I have done to date. A grueling 19.5 miles across rugged Texas hills and mesquite bush with an absolutely insane 24 shooting stages, all while on my bike in the 100-degree Texas May heat. In total, I was on course for just over 7 hours, other than just a few stages that had minimal wait time while I waited for another shooter to finish the stage. This was constant, non-stop movement for the duration. That is until I hit mile 15, when I had to stop for a few minutes and take in the views, but also gather my thoughts and my composure. I was absolutely spent, pushed to my limits. This was the highest round count and the furthest distance that I have ever gone in a single day competition, and it almost got me to tap out. So why then should you consider adding an electric mountain bike to your inventory? But first, before we continue, if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, do all the YouTube things, and definitely send it to your friends. These events are way more fun when you and your buddies are out on course. Misery loves company. Also, after this video is over, be sure to check out the catalog of after action reports that I have on my channel. All of them are super unique and very challenging in their own ways. Back to the video. There's a reason why bicycles and motorcycles are favored in the crowded and often under-electrified societies, and why they've been in the inventory of every major global military power for over 100 years.
Fast, light, highly maneuverable, adaptable to pretty much any terrain, and most of all, silent. The rise of
bicycles specifically amplify the foot soldiers' mobility by increasing their speed, their stamina, and their stealth. The United States military actually just fulfilled a large purchase order of e-bikes and has fielded motorcycles for decades. Of course, your fully loaded overland truck can make better time across the state and on country roads, but what if you need a lower profile or more agility to get off the beaten path? Imagine getting your truck down a crowded urban area like this. Or how about something like this? If you find yourself driving down the wrong road with no ability to actually turn around, the consequences could be severe. In a pinch, bicycles can be turned on a dime and even picked up and moved, making them more mobile than even motorcycles. Motorcycles are great. Obviously they can go faster and carry more, but they are loud and can be heard from miles away in some cases, and they require a ton of skill to successfully navigate terrain like this. Not to mention, they are heavy. You're not picking up a 300-pound motorcycle plus more equipment and moving it if you find yourself in the wrong place. E-motorcycles like the Surron are certainly nice in-betweens, but what happens if you can't find power, or gas, or the grid is down? Of course you can try and charge your Surron off of solar panels, but what if you have to move during the day? This is where electric mountain bikes really shine, in my opinion. They're the best of both worlds, and if you're out of juice, it's still just a bicycle, so you can go as far as your legs can take you. If your Honda or your Surron runs out of juice, it's just a heavy paperweight. Let's take a look at a quick breakdown. So let's compare the Trek Marlin 8 Plus, which is what I was riding, to the Surron and a Honda CRF 250. On the weight side, of course the bicycle takes the cake, because it is just a bicycle with a battery. Speed-wise, of course the Honda is going to win. It's a full-blown dirt bike. When it comes to range, like I mentioned, the Trek e-bike is really just a bicycle, so technically the range is unlimited. Now the electric assist does only last for about 22 miles at peak usage. I think you can squeeze it out to maybe 40 miles or so using the eco mode, but in terrain like this, you're eating up the power real quick. That goes for the Surron as well. The advertised miles really varies based off the terrain. Noise levels, again, the Trek mountain bike is going to be infinitely quieter, even compared to the Surron. The Surron is not totally silent. That chain makes a ton of noise, especially when it gets dirty. And then of course a dirt bike, everybody knows what a dirt bike sounds like, especially a two-stroke, which that's not the CRF, but if you get on a two-stroke, you can hear that thing through the woods for quite a ways. Charge time, the double win here goes for the mountain bike and goes for the Honda. Obviously you can fill up a Honda pretty quick, and technically you don't have to charge the mountain bike because it's already ready to go. You just get on it and ride off. If you want the juice, that's optional, and it can take up to 3.5 hours to charge, but it's still useful even without a charge. And then price-wise, these are all pretty similar. That's kind of why I chose them. Obviously, there's a lot of options out there, and the sky is the limit in terms of what you can buy. All of this is kind of erroneous data though, because mission does dictate your gear. If I'm riding across the continent on a BDR route, then the motorcycle or my truck is going to be the way to go, obviously. But what about navigating an urban area that's experiencing instability, like a region-wide power outage or a natural disaster? Or how about a man-made disaster? Then a bicycle might actually fit that role much better, especially in an urban area where you're not really sure if you should be going down this road or not. It's quiet, it's fast, it's extremely mobile, and it can carry load and be powered by your own two legs. I think a bike fits a certain role and a mission that lines up with civilian needs in an unstable environment better than probably most people give it credit for. And I think I know why. I think I know why this is not a huge topic in the prepper community. Fitness. This is an area that the so-called prepper community or a concerned citizen very much overlooks, probably because it's not something that you can buy or sell. You can't sit on your fitness purchase or throw it in the back of your closet for a rainy day, giving you comfort for something that's never going to happen. Physical fitness is something you must earn and work on daily. It's one of the most recurring themes of this channel is your baseline fitness level and its impact on not only your marksmanship, but your ability to move long distances with equipment that you might need or want depending on the situation. On a bicycle, this still very much applies, but a bicycle can amplify your baseline physical fitness and enable you to go much further, much faster with the equipment that you might want or need without the reliance of gas or the grid. Depending on the situation, you could easily substitute the long gun and the ammo for more water, medical, or food. Either way, your physical fitness is going to determine your odds of success. As far as this competition goes, the standard was it had to be a pedal bike. So you couldn't bring out your Honda or your Surron. It did have to be pedal bikes. And as it might seem, an electric bike might actually sound a bit like a cheat code, but I assure you, it was not. The match director was absolutely diabolical in his route selection, and he made sure to test all of those on wheels with straight up bushwhacking across hills full of cactus and mesquite trees. And let me assure you, I would have rather been on foot going up some of these 40% grades in these conditions versus pushing my 75-pound mountain bike up it. Now, I also ride motorcycles, specifically a Suzuki TR, and I've rode it through some pretty tough and rough country. I'm not the most skilled rider, but I do have a decent amount of trail experience on a proper motorcycle. No, I don't race, I don't compete with it, but I can say for sure that there's no way that I could have rode my motorcycle up this hill. It's too steep and it's too loose. There's also no direct path. You know, when you see people do this on a motorcycle and they conquer some of those crazy hills, they're riding straight up. As soon as that path gets a little off, you end up running the throttle like this to have the bike kind of ride its own way up, but you're off the bike at this point and you're pushing it. Pushing a 250-pound plus motorcycle up these hills, you're heavy on the throttle, which is going to make a ton of noise and also eat through your gas real fast. Also, if it's real hot, you might end up actually overheating the bike and ending up getting stuck there. Versus on my trek, I made it. And even better, I can pick it up and get it over some obstacles. Yeah, it kind of sucks pushing it up a hill with all the gear and some sandbags as well, but it is possible. Pushing my motorcycle up this hill would have been extremely loud and almost next to impossible. I would have had to find an alternative route, or just ride through the cactus and hope I don't pop a tire and get stuck on the side of a hill. I stepped off at 6:45 a.m. shortly after sunup. Mystery Ops doesn't mess around. The safety brief was nice and early before the sun was up.
Yeah, I don't usually think of San Diego.
It hit 100 degrees by 11 a.m. and I finished this course shortly after 2 p.m.
In sunlight.
Now it's easy to look at some of these shooting stages on video and think, wow, that looks like very easy shooting. But what you have to consider is the path to get here. Some of these stages I was 10 miles in with non-stop movement, mentally and physically exhausted. This is where you truly get to know yourself. Will you dig deep and find the strength and motivation to continue? Or has the sun beat you into the ground yet? Have you ever been so exhausted that you forgot your rifle on the ground and simply walked off? I did, twice actually, at this event, both after mile 12, which was no coincidence. I was really at my limits. My mental fatigue was so great that I really could not have passed probably the most basic of cognitive tests. Some call this state zombie mode. It's when your brain switches into a primitive mode of function and higher level thinking really just becomes difficult. Quick, what's 8 times 2? I don't know, no idea. I was smoked. My fine motor skills were also gone. Simple tasks like loading a magazine became oddly difficult and very slow. Sprinting, even 40 yards, immediately put me into shutdown.
Hit, move right.
This is where the course becomes the most dangerous. It's no coincidence I fell off my bike on the last lap of this course. Technical riding requires quick reaction time and fine motor skills. This level of fatigue is a bit like being drunk. Caution is kind of thrown to the wind and your reaction time is severely degraded. And the risk level goes up, which was something that I was pretty keenly aware of as I bombed down a hill at 20 miles per hour and made the conscious decision to back off just a bit. However, it wasn't enough. Now luckily I avoided serious injuries, but I did accumulate a few minor injuries on that last lap simply because of fatigue was getting the best of me and I was making stupid mistakes. And this is where this style of shooting sport really shines. Fatigue-induced stress and learning to manage it.
Dude, done. Show clear.
Hold on, really quick, sorry. I'm reaching my end, dude.
This is a difficult skill to master and it's a difficult situation to replicate. Personally, I don't have access to this type of land or gun range that would be necessary to induce this level of fatigue and stress again, at least not in a competition setting. For that, I'm immensely grateful to the match director and the staff for making these events possible. These guys shoot the event the day prior and then stand out in the sun for the entire day after to run competitor after competitor through the course. The value of these competitions cannot be overstated. Valuable lessons are learned here, and I thank you all for that.
Time. Show clear. I know you're clear, but you gotta show me. Show me.
Help me out now.
I'll help you up. I'm gonna stand on your head. Good job, man. That bike kicking your butt, man?
Going from 1
Gotcha.
to 2
Oh, yeah.
up that hill.
Yep. I did it too. It sucked.
Dude, I'm pushing a 70-pound bike. And
mine's only like 30 and it hurt.
This course was essentially a two-way loop course, with one complete loop being about 6 miles. There were 12 unique shooting stages along the path, and depending on which way you went, you either shot stages 1 through 6 or 7 through 12. There were 3 foot divisions, regulars, reserves, and elites, and there were 2 bike divisions, regular bikes and e-bikes. E-bikes had to have pedals, no full-blown electric motorcycles were allowed. On the foot division, the reserves did 1 loop with 6 stages, the regulars did 2 loops with 12 stages, same as the regular bike division, and the elites plus the e-bike divisions did 3 laps with a total 24 shooting stages. On the last lap, elites and e-bikes had to reshoot all 12 stages with a modified course of fire. Elites and e-bikes also had to add 5-pound sandbags on lap 2 and lap 3, so they finished out with an extra 10 pounds on their kit. This was a Memorial Day event, and the sandbags represented just a small token of the real weight and magnitude of all those who have fallen in the line of duty in defense of this country and the ideas of freedom that it represents. While 10 pounds of extra kit does sound like a lot, it's really nothing compared to the sacrifice that so few have made for so many. This was an extreme logistical challenge that the match director pulled off extremely well. Basically, off the start line, competitors could go left or right, and depending on your directions, you either shot stages 1 through 6 or stages 7 through 12, and then you did the opposite on the next loop, and then on the last loop, you had to either tackle the death hill going up or complete the whole thing in wet boots. Personally, I chose wet boots. On a bike, wet boots is really not a big deal. If I was on foot, I would have changed socks, about halfway through that last lap.
Yeah, I put it on max, dude. I was like, I want to get him. I'm at 6.7 miles on the bike so far.
yeah, same.
Yeah. Whew.
My battery's good though.
Yeah, what are you at?
90.
Oh shoot, I'm at 66 right now. I got a small battery though. I'm not sure how big yours is.
That's what she said! So like I mentioned before, I was on a Trek Marlin 8 Plus. On the back is a rack with a platform that I can strap my backpack to, and in the pack I had a bunch of supplies like ammo, water, medical, and tools. Now here's what I directly carried on me, just something simple: ammo, water, and medical. New on my rifle for this event was a Stoic Solutions bag. I was keen on running one of these because I had planned on shooting from my bike. I really wanted to test this idea out, and I'm glad I was able to make it happen. It actually worked extremely well. I think I'll keep this on my rifle for future events. Over to the chest rig. The base rig is a Spiritus Systems Mark V on a Thing 2 with a Lunar Concepts harness from Wiseman Company. This is the best harness I have ever used. It is extremely comfortable and stable. I highly recommend it. On the left pouch, I kept a small IFAK along with some snacks, and in the larger pouch, I had liquid IV along with a rangefinder. I did actually laze a few targets at this event, and I also went through 3 bottles of liquid IV. Since I was on a bike, I figured my bump helmet would be an appropriate piece of kit, and let's be real, bump helmets are just tactical versions of a bicycle helmet. And then perhaps my most important piece of kit, my sun shirt. In this environment with no shade, no cloud cover, in the Texas summer sun, a sun shirt is a must, and this basic Amazon sun shirt is awesome. I highly recommend it. Best of all, it comes in a neutral color, not just neon hot green. There's a link in the description if you're interested. Riding off from the start line, I went counterclockwise, which means I shot stages 7 through 12 first. Stage 7 course of fire was pretty straightforward. It was probably about a 100-yard or so sprint, and then a bunch of gongs with 1 hit each downrange.
Nice. 53.94. Good job, dude.
Thank you.
That's a good time.
A bit of an uphill ride now to stage 8, and this is actually where I encountered my first problem. On my way to stage 8, I had some rubbing. I could not figure out what that rubbing noise was, and then eventually I kind of concluded that my tire was bent.
I bent my back wheel.
Already?
Oh, not sure how. I feel like the ride over here did something.
My tire was actually not bent. In fact, it was my rack. My rack had popped loose, a bolt had fallen off. Luckily for me, I actually had that bolt still in my toolkit, so I was able to put the bolt back in and secure it, give it some good arm strength so that it wouldn't come loose further on in the course.
Keep it off the gears is what I was hearing. Yeah, so it goes in that top one there. Let me. In fact, I gotta make that size. Okay, there's reds. I think we got it. Now some red Loctite would be nice.
Stage 8 course of fire had targets placed at probably around 300 or so yards down a valley. A little bit of a wind to contend with and fairly small targets as well. That platform off to the right was actually where you could go prone. I chose to pull my bike out and try to shoot off my bike, which actually worked out really well.
All right. We go right to left. One hit each. Low. Hit. Right. Right. Low. Hit. Hit. Last target. Hit.
And more kit issues on the way to the next stage. This time, my pack. I didn't have it secured enough with those straps. Going up these hills, extremely rocky, and of course this is a hardtail bike, so it's very bouncy for the backpack and it popped loose several times. I did get it sufficiently secured though by crossing up the straps and just really yanking down on them pretty good. Get to enjoy the views and the sunrise. Pretty amazing piece of land out here.
All right.
And stage 9 course of fire. This was a very cool stage.
Ready?
There were a ton of targets down in this valley. You had a mix of silhouette and gongs, and then you had a final target at about 410 yards. At this event, all silhouettes get 2 shots and all gongs get 1 shot. And then there was also a camo target out there. You got bonus points if you saw the camo target and engaged it.
Hit. Hit. One. 2, 1, 2. Camouflage. 1, 2. 1.
This is probably my favorite course of fire. There were a lot of really fantastic stages at this event, but the target placement in particular at this stage was amazing.
1, hit. Hit! 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 Hit!
Reloading.
Hit! Hit!
Going far.
Go far! Hit! Hit!
Is that it?
That's it! Man, you smoked that.
Thank you.
89.28.
And then the pathway to the next stage kind of continued along this road, but then eventually dumped you out into the first section of kind of bushwhacking. A lot of mesquite, a lot of cactus. This is when I started to realize the match director was going to do his best to really test those on bicycles. Navigating this kind of terrain on foot's really not that big of a deal, but on a bike, super loose, and then of course the camera really doesn't do a good job to show you the grade. A lot of the grade on these hills was 30 to 40%, and of course it was very loose rocks and loose dirt, and a lot of obstacles to have to avoid, so it was pretty slow going on a bike. You couldn't really just bomb your way down these hills. You had to avoid mesquites and cactus, and then of course the risk of popping a tire just goes way up. Looking forward to get to the next path marker. It really wasn't passable here, so I kind of had to go around.
Fucking snakes up in here. Captured. All right,
And then stage 10, course of fire. This was a fairly straightforward stage. You just had an arrangement of paper targets out there, and they were actually doing it wasn't totally hit factor scoring, but they were checking your hits. I believe you had to get A box or A zone hits. I did use my top dot on this one.
All right, unlock shot clear.
And the path to the next stage, it very smoothed out. It was very flat here, so it was zipping along pretty quick. Again, this bike tops out at around 22 miles per hour.
I don't think so. I know. I don't know if I'm supposed to be at stage 3. What's that? I think stage 11. Unless I can't count. Am I going down now?
I don't remember.
Yeah, should be coming from 11 from that way.
So 10. So now you need to go to 11.
Okay, where's 11?
That way.
No, wait.
You're welcome, man.
Big open field.
Stage 11, course of fire. This was a bit of a jungle run. You had camouflaged cardboard targets placed in very, hidden spots throughout this little jungle run. And if you passed them, you could not go back and shoot them. So if you passed them, that was a failure to engage that target, so you got some deduction of points there. And there was actually a moving target on this stage. When I went through it the first time, the target wasn't working, but they did get it fixed by the time I went through it for my very last lap.
That's it. Right.
Did I miss one?
Yeah.
Where was he?
And then onward to the last stage from this first lap. There's a bit of a hill here. Now this hill, again, is extremely steep. It doesn't show up very well on the camera, but it was very steep. I did ride up most of it, but then I kind of had to put my foot down because I fell into a little bit of a rut, and then it was too steep to get back on the bike and get the bike going, so I had to push it. And this is when I kind of started to remember, oh yeah, my bike, I think, has a hill assist mode. Now at this point, I did not know how to use it, so I was kind of fumbling through some controls to see if I could remember how to get this going. I actually didn't figure out how to use the hill assist mode until the very last lap, which, as you'll see coming up, ends up kind of coming back to haunt me. And then stage 12, course of fire. This started off with a little bit of a sprint to the flag, hoist the stars and bars, take a look at it, enjoy the marvelous views, but then also sprint over to a position where you had some long range engagements down a valley and up the side of a hill. You had a lot of wind to contend with here, and I think some of it was very gusty. It was very unpredictable, left, right, etc. And so I actually failed to neutralize that last target.
All right, closest.
Near or far? First target is on this side of the road.
Yep, I see it. Big gong.
Head back! Head back! Impact! Impact! Which target are you on?
The camo.
Okay.
I'm gonna move on to the top light.
All right. Left or right?
Right.
Okay. Impact!
Oh shit, that's real high. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Damn, that last one. My last shot was like
Target and a half above.
Oh, the wind does
yeah, it's
freaky
doing fine
stuff
things.
in this valley.
What's that last target distance?
6+, it's like 615, 620.
Oh, shit. That doesn't.
There you go, sir.
And then a really long leg here back to the parking lot with an extreme hill in the way. Now this hill was at a 40% plus grade, extremely loose and laden with rocks and mesquite and cactus, and it was very slow going. Now preview, you're going down it and I immediately have to return to this position on my next lap, so I end up having to go back up this hill with my bike, which was just absolutely diabolical on the match director's part to get bikes to go up this. It's doable, but man, it was really tough.
Ow.
And then back at the check-in area where you had to pick up your first sandbag. So lap 2 and lap 3, you had to add 5-pound sandbags. Again, this was a memorial event and it's kind of representative of carrying the weight of the fallen. And then back at the parking lot here, reload mags.
I thought I saw a second sandbag. I'm like, you're already on number 3?
Hey, for a second lap, I go back the way I came back, right?
Yes.
And I shoot 1 through 6?
Yep.
Okay.
And then on your last lap, you'll go the same way.
Okay.
Shoot everything.
And shoot everything. I'm not gonna have enough ammo for all that. Is it a reduced round count?
Yeah.
Third time?
Yeah, it's reduced.
I don't know how that could be on some of those stages, like the long range stage.
Yeah, it's a little reduced to help you out.
Take a look at this magazine. All of the moon dust out this way is beginning to have its effects on my equipment. And then back out the way that I came to shoot the clockwise version of the course, which was stage 1 through 6. Stage 1 course of fire, this was kind of a trench run, as that's what it was inspired by. It's, you know, it was labeled 1918. Start off with some cardboard targets, and then you finish off with some steel, and then you ground your rifle and finish with some war crimes, right? The German Empire would not like this. There is a shotgun at the end of this stage.
Watch on the right, anywhere in here. Hit! 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 One more on the left. Far left.
Far left.
Right here.
The tall one?
Tall one. Clear, ground it. Shotgun is unloaded at the end. Clear. Nicely done, sir.
And now back up this absolutely terrible hill. I pretty much had to push my bike from almost the base of this hill to the top. And this was about, I believe, about a half a mile to about 3/4 of a mile push up the hill. And this is where I really started to try to investigate my bicycle's features to find that hill assist mode. Now this mode is when you hold down on one of the buttons, it'll actually turn the back wheel for you in a somewhat slow and manageable RPM, so it can help push the bike up for you. Now it is very finicky. You have to engage it in a very certain way, and then if you stop or disengage it, you have to go through that same procedure again. So it took some work to figure it out. I didn't figure it out though for this initial push. And finally made it up to the top. Now I did have to stop, get some water, take in the breeze a little bit. That hill absolutely killed me.
Good break, good break.
Stage 2 course of fire, pretty long sprint or jog in my case to the very first position. Now there was only one target on this course, and it was a big alien gong. So you had to put 3 rounds on it at 3 or 4 different positions, basically fire in advance.
Yes, sir. Yep. Go. One, two, three. There you go. Already? Dude.
And then a quick ride to stage 3. Stage 3 was pretty straightforward. This was basically prone, shooting through a tire. And you had an order of engagement. So you had to shoot the odd targets first, and then the even targets. So again, if you're not running like an LPVO or some sort of a properly magnified optic, you might have a hard time actually even seeing the numbers. And then some of these targets were placed behind some grassy knolls, which were very difficult to see your missed impacts. The grass tends to just garble up your missed shots, and so you got to know your holds.
Little low to the right. Hit! 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 Not seeing it.
And then finish off with a staccato in a bucket and a target that for my first run was not reset. I think the wind blew it down.
Set it.
It blew over.
Just fire out there
Fire.
a couple of times.
All right. Sorry about that, Philip.
No worries. The wind picked up and took it down.
What's his time? I'm gonna take 2 seconds off.
89.16.
Here, it's not loaded, but magnet.
Yeah, we laid it on the towel. But
Path to stage 4 did include another bit of a hill climb. I was actually able to ride up this hill, though it wasn't that big of a deal. And then on to stage 4. Stage 4 had you advancing through the bush over to 2 trees. These 2 trees were specifically marked. You had to shoot from those trees. And I chose the wrong tree at first. This tree has, it's too tall and it was catching some of the wind, so it was moving a lot. You had a huge array of tiny alien targets out there, which have a ton of room to actually miss your shots, right? There's dead space between the arms and the torso, and it's got a big head and a tiny body. So note to self in the future, just aim for the head.
hit! 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 Hit!
The third alien out. You still got to hit.
Yep.
Hit! Hit! Stage clear! Unload, show clear. All right. That tree's a son of a gun, ain't it? Clear gun.
And then zipping along real fast here onto stage 5. Stage 5 was a little bit of a mind game. The stage had you actually removing your magazine from each position. You had to bound back and forth and engaging the targets, 1 hit each. And if you missed, you had to move, reload, re-engage, and then just keep doing this. I saw several competitors before me kind of crumble under this kind of artificial anxiety around missed shots because you didn't have just a full magazine to plug away at a target. You had to make those rounds count. And of course, at this point in time, I was getting pretty smoked. I was pretty tired. Sun was definitely starting to come out, and I was kind of starting to experience that physical degrade, right? I'm getting real tired. This was getting close to mile 9, maybe mile 10 at this point.
Hit! Move right, furthest target. Yeah. Hit! Move right, hard. Around the tree right there. Either target, don't matter.
Mark, I'm tired.
You got this. Don't be a beach. Hit, move right. There it is. You got this. Push left, re-engage. Time. Show clear. I know you're clear, but you gotta show me.
And then another quick ride down a hill and on to stage 6. Stage 6 is the last stage for this lap, and thankfully it included some water. Now the match director did let you drop kit. You didn't have to swim with your rifle and all your ammo and stuff. You got to drop your kit and stage it and then jump off of this dock and swim across the pond. This pond was a well-fed pond, so it was nice and cool. It was probably in the 70s temperature wise. It felt great, but that does mean you get your boots wet, so bring extra socks to these events.
Pass me the stick. One shot each.
Hit. 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 Unload.
And then once again, you end up back at the reload area where you got to reload, grab another sandbag, and then head back out to the course where you had to shoot all 12 stages. Now this last lap, you got to shoot a modified course of fire where it was a reduced round count. So at least there is that, but again, that's a lot of stages to shoot. And it was an absolute blast this last stage, getting to shoot 12 stages, one after another. But of course, by this time, it was 100 degrees, the sun was out, there was not a cloud in sight, and then of course in this area, not a bit of shade. So this last lap was absolutely brutal. I had to stop several times just to kind of take a breeze in and cool down a little bit and collect my thoughts, because I was really smoked for this last lap. Now for the final scores, I kind of hesitate to put this up just because the division I was in was extremely small, right? There was only 4 people. And I believe I'm the only one who made it back on my bike. I think 2 people had tire malfunctions, and I believe the second place guy ran out of battery. I'm not really sure about that. Maybe he can chime in. But basically, I survived. Yeah, I came in first place, but you know, it's a division of 4. So how much was that actually first place? Is more of I survived, which you know, just barely. I got home, I checked my tires. I did have some punctures, and luckily they did not leak. I did have a tire repair kit, but still, this was an extreme test of equipment. And you know, I guess I'm happy to report I did survive. Bring me to my final thoughts. This was an incredible event. The logistical challenge here from the match director to staff and host 12 stages with competitors running a range of different divisions, which had them, you know, shooting just 6 stages or just 12 stages or the full 24 stages, was no small feat. And you know, Mystery Ops pulled it off. They pulled it off fantastic from at least my perspective. I really didn't have tons of wait time. There was not a lot of confusion. The ROs knew what they were doing. And the courses of fire were really fantastic. Every stage was just absolutely well planned, well executed. And then of course there's the bike aspect. This is the only event that I have seen, at least, that is anywhere close to letting, you know, competitors shoot while riding their bikes. This was just such a unique experience for a shooting competition, to have a bicycle component to it, as well as, you know, shooting your rifle out to like 600, 700 yards, cross valleys, down hills. Just an extremely rare opportunity for a citizen to test themselves and test their kit in a very unique way. If you've made it to the end of this video, congratulations. You seem like you're very, very interested in this style of shooting sport. And if you are, be sure to check out the link to Mystery Ops down in the description. There's a lot of great events coming up. And as always, run, lift, and shoot.